Hello and welcome to another traffic guide for the Camel GT series in iRacing. This week we're at Road America, so I'm using a race from last season, 2016 Season 4, where we had 17 Nissan and 8 Audi drivers. I started the race in third position, so I'm actually going to show the first traffic in lap 7 from Tapani's view, as he's the race leader at that point. So let's go ahead and jump into that. So traffic is first encountered at turn 3, and as you can see here, Tapani set up on the inside to indicate that his intention is to pass on the inside, but as he approaches the corner, can't quite catch up to the Nissan here, the number 9 Nissan on the left, prior to his turn-in point. So he's going to use caution here. He's going to hold up a little extra and wait to see what he does there. So there's a bit of an option here. You can prepare to take the inside if it looks like the Audi's going to run wide and not take his apex. But it is his apex to take at this point, as the Nissan is nowhere near being alongside him as he's already begun to turn in. So the mistake here would be to dive in at the last second and see this as an opening to take the inside line. The closing speed is very quick, but at this point it is now too late to do so. The Audi has already begun his turn-in point, and once he's done that, once he's turned in and he's carrying speed toward the apex, it's very difficult to make an adjustment or a change in line at that point, and you're definitely going to cause an incident if you try to dive in this late. So you can see that Tapani is smartly being cautious here and waiting until his opening, which is now going to be on the inside of corner exit. And you'll see that, as I mentioned in my previous video, it's much easier to get through traffic when you're the car that's following, as you can typically just follow the car ahead of you if you're close enough, and just follow the line that he has now opened up through that corner. And so it makes it very easy for me to just follow him through. It also is generally the advantage of the car that's chasing, and sometimes you can get a little bit overconfident when you're behind another car because they lose more speed going into a corner in situations like this. And so be cautious about when you make a move to pass. There's no opportunity here. There's so much traffic that really my best bet is just to follow him through. Okay, so coming down the moraine sweep into turn 5. No traffic for Tapani to worry about. I believe that I was able to just get around Joe here into his braking zone, so I was able to kind of squeeze in, luckily, just ahead of that. And we're going to come up now into, I think, turn 7 here is where we start to, nope, not yet. Turn 8. Okay, so turn 8. Once again, you can see he's going to move to the inside to show his intention to pass on the inside, but I believe he's going to be very cautious here about whether he makes a move or not. You can see, again, the closing rate, which will happen here. Doesn't quite get there, and so, again, he's going to hold up and use caution because, again, this is now, at this point, this is this Jonathan Madden's apex at this point. And so what the Nissan driver will be doing at this point is now watching very closely what line this Audi will run, whether he wants to hold up and give way, which he's unlikely to do. He's fighting for position with the car ahead of him. And so with respect to that, and with respect to the fact that he is now ahead at the corner entry point, the smart move is to, and the cautious move is to hold up and wait. Now what he does see is that the Audi driver does go ahead and hold up and give him the inside line. So he doesn't have to do that. It's an option, obviously, but he doesn't necessarily have to do that. But because he does slow up extra and he stays to the inside, Tapani can go ahead and take that apex at this point. So let's watch that at speed. And, of course, I'll follow him through. All right, so in the carousel, you're always going to be passing, typically always going to be passing on the outside here. But, of course, there is a point at midpoint where the line will kind of extend out into the middle of the road. If you saw my previous lap guide, you would see where that will typically happen for both the Nissan and the Audi. The Audi driver here is sacrificing a little bit of his line here to make space on the outside here. Josh is doing a good job of keeping it tight on the inside to make sure that we have room to get around. Sometimes difficult to do. Sometimes the car will start to slide wide. So if you're a Nissan driver, be prepared for that. Right here at the mid-corner point, the cars may kind of tend to slide a little wider, and as you kind of carry speed into the carousel, if there's a little more speed carried, the car's just naturally going to come wide out here at that point. So be prepared for that. That's something that drivers may not intend to happen, but it can naturally happen. So we can both get around pretty cleanly here. Jump ahead to the next lap. All right, so there's obviously no option to pass going into turn one, and so what you want to do as a Nissan driver is you want to get ready for a nice quick exit on corner entry and pass on the inside of corner. I'm sorry, corner exit. A pass on corner exit on the inside. So he's going to set up for that. Now, in my case, there's a chance to pass because I can get alongside prior to the corner turn-in point. Nissan's still in, I'm sorry, the Audi is still in his braking zone, so I can get ahead a little bit before that. Now, if you make a pass like this just before the corner entry point, then, oops, let me jump back to that. Then be very careful about making any changes in your driving line. You don't want to make any changes in driving line that confuse or throw off the other driver. Now, the braking point is earlier on for the Audi, and so that gives the Nissan a chance to kind of get past in that braking zone and then pass. I'm sorry, and then brake just a little bit further up. But if you swerve over at the last second, you can kind of startle or throw the Audi driver off, and I've seen Nissan drivers actually startle Audi drivers with late moves like that actually cause them to kind of run off. You're obviously free to move over at the last moment as you make that pass, but bear that in mind that if you make a kind of a late move in your braking zone, you can really throw off the timing of quarter entry for the Audi driver, and they won't be too happy with you. So be careful with doing something like that. All right, let's move up to the next pass. So we're coming up behind, I believe this is Renz, the Audi race leader. And you can see that he's actually going to go ahead and slow up prior to the next corner. He sees the position, the battle for position between Tapani and myself, and he's got a lot of space between him, I think, in second place. So he's going to go ahead and slow up and give us some time to get around before this next corner. So you can see him getting on his brakes here, and obviously stating his intentions clearly by keeping the car to the right-hand side of the road, so we know exactly what he is doing here. Now, as he went around the corner, you'll notice he even gave me room to pass on the outside, so very nice of him to do so. He didn't necessarily need to. He could have used all of the road here, but he was making way and giving me some space to get through there. All right, so that's it for that example. Let's jump to lap 12, where we counter traffic for the second time. Now, this isn't part of a traffic guide, but this reminded me of my lap guide, because this is exactly what I showed in my lap guide. I didn't realize this was exactly the same spot where this set up for a pass. What happened is Tapani gets a little loose off of this curbing, and that looks almost dead on identical to the example that I showed in my lap guide, and I didn't realize that until I brought this replay up to see that. But if you watched my lap guide, again, I mentioned using caution on this curbing. As you come off that curbing with a lot of throttle, the car tends to break free and get a little loose here. And that was just enough to allow me to catch him by the end of this particular straight. He smartly takes the inside line to set up for the next corner. But that's one little mistake like that is just enough to lose position, and I believe I held on to that for the rest of the race. So thought it was interesting to point that out. That's just another example of being careful on that corner where you can get loose. Lap 16, next set of traffic here. Actually, this is the last example that I have. This is just an example in turn 1, and watch what Renz does here. So in my last lap guide, I talked about braking early to facilitate the pass prior to a corner. Now, what I like that he did here is that he didn't just simply jump on the brakes early in a point where I wouldn't expect him to brake early. And now I'm using his car's draft to get a little bit of extra speed. And if he brakes early and I'm a little closer, that could send me right into him. So obviously braking early could actually be dangerous. But what he does is he kind of lightly taps the brake a few times, and that clearly conveys to me that he's going to go ahead and slow up to give me the inside line for the upcoming corner here. So very smart, and I appreciate that he was able to do that because it let me know what his intentions were. You see I get over right away. If he's going to brake a little earlier, I don't want to be right up on his tail when he does that because I don't want to hit it. I don't run into him. And that's it for the traffic guide for Road America. Hope this was helpful. Talk to you later.